Ruslan.
Just watched the full presidential debate. Gosh, this was good. First of all, whoever concocted their drug cocktail tonight, both Bidens and Trumps did a good job. The steroids was hitting, the Adderall was hitting, whatever else they was on was hitting. Them dudes was definitely there and present for the most part. I think that was good. I mean, these guys are both older. Remember, both of these guys would be the oldest elected president ever. So I think shout out to whoever concocted their drug cocktail. That's a winner. The moderator was a winner. I thought she killed it. Thought she did a really, really good job moderating. She held it together. I thought the mute mic was good. It let him kind of go at it a little bit, but for the most part, it was contained. I thought it was good. Now, by the way, I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I am politically agnostic. I think the real issue here is extremism on both sides. I think that's the issue that we're facing as Americans is who runs these parties, the most radical people on the left, the most radical people on the right. That's why we're so divided, and that's why I'm politically agnostic, and you should be too. But I'm going to give you guys my breakdown. There are some things I think Trump did well on, some things I think he did bad on. In terms of how he answered the COVID thing, this was a night to me of Trump counterpunching. He kept counterpunching. The COVID thing, the fact that he downplayed it while privately acknowledging how dangerous it was initially was not good. That was not good, and he got called out for it. Now, him on the economy and reopening the economy safely with masks, protecting the vulnerable, protecting the, everybody else, and him pointing out the fact that, hey, we got to talk about it. And the CDC just came out with an article talking about deaths of despair, suicide, depression, all these things going up. He counterpunched with that in terms of the economy. So I'm with him on how do we open up better and safely get things going so our economy completely doesn't go to hell, while at the same time, how do we protect people? I think I'm with him there, but his handling of COVID initially to me was just a complete massive L. Now, in terms of them wanting to get to the Hunter scandal, the China taxes scandal, them kind of bickering back and forth on that. I thought that the moderator should have pressed Biden more about that. I think that he deflected in saying, "Oh, it was just Russia. It was just Russia, and this is fake. This is Russia meddling and all that." That was a BS answer. The laptop is real. The emails are real. They haven't denied the emails, and the fact that Hunter is out here finessing millions of dollars under his father's name, I think is extremely, extremely problematic. I think Trump did a good job of going after him there, and I think he did a good job of just kind of brushing it off as a businessman. Hey man, I got businesses everywhere. Now, taxes. The taxes question I thought was good, and that he pushed back and said, I prepaid my tax. I thought that was a reasonable answer. And he said the $750 was the filing fee. That was a reasonable answer. I thought he did a good job answering that. Again, a lot of counterpunching on Trump's part. He was elusive. Biden was very prepared. He went in. He was, again, that drug cocktail was hitting. Gosh darn it was hitting. But Trump did a good job counterpunching. Now, here are some places where I disagreed with Biden. Specifically on North Korea, that was kind of scary. I'm not gonna cap when he starts talking about, I'm gonna show my dominance, and let me read the actual quote. This quote scared me. He said, "Control them," and basically spoke down on Trump because he I guess because he was friendly with Kim Jong-un, who's obviously a very interesting character. I thought that was, I wasn't really with Biden there. On healthcare, I think Trump takes an L for trying to dismantle Obamacare in the middle of COVID, in the middle of this pandemic, people losing their insurance, people being on Obamacare. I think it was good that he undid that mandate where you had to have Obamacare. You're going to pay it thousands of dollars a year. But him trying to undo Obamacare, Biden pulling his card on that, I think I'm with Biden there. I think you got to keep Obamacare in place. He pushed back and said, listen, I'm for public option, but I'm not going to disrupt or dismantle private insurance. I think Biden answered very well there. When it comes to the economy, I I don't like Biden's tax policies, not because it's going to directly impact me, but just because I don't know if 62% in New York and 62% in California is reasonable. But just my opinion. Anytime somebody's taking more than half, they're the majority stakeholder in the business. And so if the government's taking more than half, I think that's pretty bad. So the economy, he made a quote and he said, what was the quote? He said a quote that really threw me off. Oh, he said the $15 minimum wage. No one should have to work 2 jobs. No one should have to work 2 jobs. And $15. And Trump pushed back and said, hey man, $15 in some parts of the country, that's a lot of money. In other parts of the country, it's not a lot of money. Here's the thing about a minimum wage that we don't think about. The minimum wage isn't intended to be a living wage. And the minimum wage is not intended for people to raise a family on. It's intended for folks who are just getting into industry, just starting their life, just in high school, or folks that don't have a lot of skills, folks that don't have a lot of work experience, maybe folks that have been on drugs or made some poor decisions or been out of the workforce. That's who the minimum wage is intended for. And unfortunately, yes, some of those folks have family, but to say that, oh, no one should have to work 2 jobs. Well, what about people who don't got no skills, don't got no motivation, don't got no drive? Do we just need to front the bill for those folks? I wasn't with Biden on that. I thought that was a crappy response. It sounds nice. It sounds very, very nice. But minimum wage is entry level pay. It is not meant to be a livable wage. How do you get to a livable wage? As an individual. I don't know how the government gets to a livable wage, but as an individual, you have scarce skills. You work on your relationships and your network, education, right? Not getting BS degrees, going hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt to get a $60,000 a year job. Nonsense. It's stupid, right? That's stupid. And a degree is becoming less and less valuable. So I am not with Biden on the minimum wage thing. Let's see. So yeah, Biden economy, Trump on the 5,000 families who haven't been reunited, the families coming here seeking asylum. I thought that was Trump just kind of looked messy there. He looked messy on that question. He kept countering. He did a good job countering, and he kept saying, listen, you and Obama built those cages. It was you guys who did it. I was just... we were trying to protect the country, protect the borders. We built the great 400-mile wall, blah, blah, blah. He didn't look good answering that. In my opinion, I think he should have done a better job answering that. I don't think he should have put kids in cages and separate kids from their parents, period. That just is just not a good look. In terms of Russia and China and all that kind of stuff, all that to me sounded very convoluted. I don't really know what to make of it in terms of who's really corrupt. Trump definitely made the precedent that Biden has some corruption to him because of his son Hunter making all this money overseas and pretty much being unemployed. That definitely makes me go, Biden's not this squeaky clean, I'm the character of America guy. Neither is Trump, by the way. But when you come to like who's pragmatic, that's where it's a toss-up, right? But Biden trying to come off this like, I have no corruption. Trump definitely went after him there. When it comes to race, when it comes to the racial thing, there's no way that Trump is going to answer this answer correctly. Meaning that you have one of 2 answers. You have the answer of, hey, I'm going to acknowledge the families who have dealt with police brutality, the families who have been, treated unfairly with law enforcement, those who have lost family. You can either acknowledge that and alienate your base, which a lot of you guys watching this are like, systemic racism isn't real. There's no such thing. Racism can't corrupt police departments. It's just a few bad apples. A few bad apples that spoil the whole bunch. That's how the metaphor actually goes. So I think Trump can't answer that question maybe the way he even feels. I think deep down in his heart, he knows we need to make some changes with law enforcement. He can't answer that question. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's just completely just numb to it. I don't know. Clearly, he can't answer that question no right way, because if he answers it this way, he's going to say, well, you just alienated your base, and a majority of his base and MAGA people don't think that there's structural racism is a thing. They believe racism is just by individual to individual. And then you got people on the other side who are saying, well, look, he is therefore racist because he won't acknowledge it, and, he shouted out the Proud Boys, who aren't, by the way, a white supremacist organization. They are a far-right organization, and they're a mess. But he couldn't answer that question. There's just no way he wins at answering that question. So what does he do? He counterpunches. He goes after Biden for the crime bill. He says that Biden said the term super predators. Now, as far as I know, I think it was Hillary and or Bill Clinton that said super predators, but apparently some folks were in the chat saying, hey, listen, he is actually on record as saying super predators. He did sign a 1994 crime bill. In the 80s, the punishment of the war on drugs was awful, and Biden almost apologized for it, but not really. The right thing for Biden to do would have been, yes, I made a mistake. That crime bill was terrible. We made a mistake, and we all need to repent as a country for how we handled the war on drugs and how hard we punish people who were using drugs. We don't need to do that no more. And he kind of said that, but I don't think he went good. He didn't go hard enough in that answer. So when it comes to the race thing, Trump's just not, he's not going to answer that correctly. I don't expect him to answer that correctly. I wish he would. I really wish he would say, hey guys, clearly under the law, when we look at all these things, regardless on if it was Democrats, Republicans, or both, clearly there's some disparities here, and gosh, we got to do a better job. I think he could potentially win over more of the black vote if he just acknowledges that. Instead, he makes these, hyperbolic sounding statements of no one's done more for the black communities since me, than with the exception of Abraham Lincoln. And then he kind of calls Biden on and said, I didn't say I was Abraham Lincoln. He said, yeah, but you said, no one's done more. Da, da, da. So listen, guys, at the end of the day, the real winners here is the moderator. The real winners here is the networks getting all these clicks. The real losers here is the American people, because we have to pick one of these two losers, or so we think, which is why I'm politically agnostic. If those of you guys who feel conflicted, like I do, by the way, I feel conflicted. I can't vote for either of these guys. Don't let anybody trick you into believing that if you vote third party, if you find a reasonable candidate that you align with, don't let anybody trick you into believing that you're giving your vote away. That is utter nonsense. I did a whole video about that. You should go check that out, why voting third party is not. But the real issue, the real danger here, guys, is not... Neither one of these guys is going to ruin the country. Let's keep it a buck. We have 4 years of Trump. Ice Cube even said, hey, when he's speaking about black people specifically, he said, listen, people are resilient. It's going to be fine. No one person is going to ruin the country. If you think that's the case, you don't understand how our 3 branches of government work. You just fundamentally need a civics lesson. There's 3 branches of governments. They create checks and balances. Even Biden pointed it out. He said we couldn't get as much stuff as we wanted because we had a Republican Senate that wouldn't let us push through the stuff we wanted. Senate, House of Representatives, that's one branch, the executive branch, and the Supreme Court. 3 branches of government. Founding fathers weren't perfect, but goodness gracious, they were smart in checks and balances. They're making sure that no one person can have so much power to ruin this country. So this country is not going to go to hell regardless of who gets elected, and that's the real issue, is that you guys are being pushed into a corner and being tricked to believe that if you don't vote this way, the commies are coming, the socialism is coming, Marxism is coming. And then you guys on the other side are saying, oh, racism is going to run rampant if Trump takes over, and it's going to be authoritarianism, and he's going to be Hitler. Both of which are complete, utter cap. Complete, utter cap. Don't fall into the extremism, okay? Stop it. It's not that. Country is going to be fine. Okay, now could have Trump handled the coronavirus better? Absolutely. The Sleepy Joe seemed like he's showing some cognitive decline, and he gotta get the meds right for him to be up there for 90 minutes and lucid. Yes, these are such bad choices, which is why I'm voting third party. You could do what you want. Do your research. But more importantly, before I leave you with anything, I know this is fun and we watched the debate and we laughed and all that kind of stuff. Guys, the most important thing you could be doing is paying attention to the local ballots, the props that are in your state, the local ballots in your city, who's running, because a lot of those policies are going to impact us, maybe more so than just tax policies that'll pass and may raise taxes for those people that make over $400,000 a year, all that kind of stuff. Yes, that stuff's going to impact some of us, but by and large, pay attention to your local elections. Pay attention to who's running. If there's people running for governor, if there's people running for mayor, senator, House of Rep, all that. Pay attention to that stuff. That stuff is super important. Again, if I had to call this debate, I mean, listen, Biden didn't lose, but Trump didn't win. Like, it was just kind of like it was just another toss-up. I guess if you're in the middle, if I'm in the middle, I see the precedent that there may be some corruption going on with Biden's family. I see that precedent. And I think I also, I don't know, guys. I just don't like either one of these guys, right? I don't like either one of these guys. I wouldn't say it's a draw. If I have to be honest, and again, I don't like either one of these guys. If I had to be honest, I feel like Trump comes out slightly ahead because of how well he counterpunched all of Biden's attacks. But I don't think that wins him anything. I don't think that wins him any votes. I think at this point, people have decided and they've made up their mind. I don't think even if he came out slightly ahead, I don't think he's going to win any votes. So those are my thoughts, man. Those are my thoughts. I just think this whole thing is a mess. I think we got to stop being so extreme with our politics. We got to stop buying into the extremism of this stuff. And we have to be honest. Listen, that laptop is bad. I don't care if you're voting for Biden. You just got to be sober about it. That laptop is real. That laptop is bad. That laptop has some very, 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 very sketchy stuff on it. And so I would say, hey, be sober about that stuff. You know what I'm saying? And at the same time, Trump kind of dropped the ball on the freaking Corona thing. Like he just did. You know what I'm saying? He did. And he says he takes responsibility. That's the first time I heard him say he took responsibility. But all in all, the American people lose. Okay, that's who loses in these situations. And we need to refine this system. And I think that it will get better in 2024. What I think is going to happen, my prediction, this is my prediction. We'll see how well this ages. I think Trump loses the election, gets his Supreme Court judge in, and 4 years later, the Republicans or a third party rises up and musters up a reasonable candidate that can take us into a reasonable, hopefully less nasty cycle, right? I think that's what has to happen. That's what I'm predicting, but I don't know. We'll see how this ages. Let me know what you guys think, man. I want to hear from you guys. All in all, entertaining debate, much better than the first one. Everybody got to speak. They didn't have to mute their mics too much. They did mute, I think, Trump's mic a little bit. But yeah, I think that's my prediction, man. Even though I think Trump came out a little ahead in this debate, I think by and large he loses the election. I think he still gets his Supreme Court judge through. We have a split Senate and House, and I could do 4 years of Biden. My taxes are going to go up probably if I keep projecting my goals, and in 4 years later we're going to have the Republicans need to wake up. By the way, we're here because both sides were asleep at the wheel in the primary. In the primaries, both sides were asleep at the wheel. That's what happened. That's how we got Trump. People are like, how did we get Trump? How did we get Trump? We got Trump because the Republicans were asleep at the wheel in their primaries, the most extremist, dumbest people to vote in those. And the Democrats had great candidates, way better candidates than Joe Biden. Goodness gracious. We had Tulsi Gabbard. We had Andrew Yang. We had better candidates over on the Democrat. And who did we get? We got Sleepy Joe. Well, this is why we can't have nice things when it comes to American politics. So, you guys, hopefully you enjoyed this. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Appreciate y'all. Give this video a like. Do subscribe if you are not subscribed. And stay along, man. We'll be discussing more of this as the days progress. All right? But, hey, don't fret. It's going to be all right. It's going to be, if this stuff is consuming your attention, if you're freaking out, if you're scared, you really need to reevaluate. This is making you, I'm so not emotional. This is entertaining me. I'm so not emotional right now. If you're emotional, you may need to unplug for a while. All right. Love you guys. Peace.
Kingstream Entertainment. Ruslan.